We've given a fair bit of motivation of why Python, what can you do with Python, how can we get started with Python. But let's actually go ahead now and write our very first program in Python. Let's just start, right? We'll worry about how it works, how it thinks, what it does later. But just let's go ahead and write our very first program in Python. And imagine that the first program you want to write in Python is where you just have a very simple output which says, this is my first Python program. That's it. So if that is what we wish to do, we need two ingredients. Number one, we need an IDE. We've talked about what an IDE is, and we've also said that for now, we will be using Replit. So you need an IDE. But then you also need to learn how to use print. So first program, but we need two ingredients, an IDE and learn how to use print. Okay, let's go ahead and actually just write our first Python program. So we need print, we need a bracket, and we say that this is my first Python program. Great, okay. And we then just go ahead and press run, and essentially what we get is our first Python program. It gives you the output that you wanted. But writing a program and learning how to write programs, it's also really important to understand the consequences of making mistakes. And in fact, see, when you make a mistake, your program will crash, your computer will not crash. It's not a big deal, right? Oh, by program crashing means it's not, it won't compile, it won't do the right thing, it'll give you an error. But what's the big deal? So especially when you're writing smaller programs at the early stages of programming, it's really important not just to get the code right, but to actually deliberately make a few mistakes and see what actually happens, right? You start getting an intuition about what goes wrong, when, where, and how, which turns out to be incredibly useful as you start writing bigger and bigger and bigger programs. So let's make a few mistakes. Okay, so here's our first mistake. Let's go ahead and make P capital P. In the print, we make it capital P, and now let's run the program. Give a mistake. So clearly, print needs to be with small p. So we clear the console, run the program, and it works. This is our first program in Python, and it works, but we've also made our first mistake. Let's make our second mistake. Now let's take this bracket here and remove it. And let me clear the history. So we've removed this mistake, syntax error. The bracket was never closed. Okay, great. Okay, so we put that back. We put that back, clear the history, run the program. It works. So you see that in programming, what you need to do is you need to get everything right. One small mistake, it doesn't work. So it's important to get a sense of where these mistakes happen, how they can happen, what results you get if they happen, and how do you rectify them. Now let's go ahead and write our program, but with the third mistake. Let's clear history, let's run it, and bang, again, it says a mistake. It says syntax error, undetermined string literal detected at line 1. So if you look at it now, okay, first let's fix that up. We have fixed that up. Let's clear the history, and we have our first running program back again. So it's one line of code. It does something simple, but we showed how we can actually have 3 mistakes. So essentially, what did we have? We had one program with one line of code. We needed 2 ingredients. We needed an IDE, in this case it was Replit, and we needed print, but we also had 3 mistakes. But essentially what you've done is essentially just written your first program in Python.